Good evening and welcome to Beware of Spoilers. I am Adam. I just saw Joker Folie, Deux. So, because it is Monday, and this episode should be going up Monday night, tomorrow morning, probably tonight we'll have an article up, if not tomorrow, over on, Beware of Spoilers. But we're going to do what we normally do for these advanced screenings. Part spoiler-free, part spoiler-filled. And that's, kind of fucking it goes away, I forgot. Oh, wait, no, I can. Holy fuck. Now, let me just give this a little bit of preface. I did not like Joker. I have been vocal about that. I think Joker is a vastly overrated movie. I think that Joaquin Phoenix gets his Oscar for that movie because he puts on a good performance and because he is, it was kind of a weak year. It's like how Jennifer Lawrence won Best Supporting Actress or Best Actress for Silver Linings Playbook, where it's like, yeah, the movie's good, but I think that by and large she wins that award because it's a weak year. And that's kind of where I feel I am on this. On Joker. I think that if not for, and again, I've talked about this several times, my thing is, if this movie was just called Clown, and it didn't have the DC branding behind it, it wouldn't have made $800 million on the $50 million budget it had. That said, I think this is so much worse. I think that they give an explanation as to what happened in the first one, which, again, another thing that I said I was not exactly looking forward to, because I think the strongest thing about the first movie is that we don't know how much of it actually happened in Arthur's head and how much of it actually happened in reality. This movie answers that question, and I don't think the answer is satisfying. It's a disappointment in a major way, because it's like, I don't think that you're giving us a satisfactory conclusion to that question. I don't think we need to. I'm trying not to spoil it. I think the movie does have a few things that it does do well. Let's get that out of the way. I think that some of the production design for some of the musical numbers is pretty good, because again, this is a musical. And I think that there's one sequence toward the end of the movie, you've seen it in the trailers, where the Joker is in court and he's fully unleashed Joker, and that's what it is. That is the moment that I think the movie works the most, is when you get him in that role. The entire rest of it, I can do without. I feel like there was also, as I'm watching it, there's a moment where, we'll talk about it later when we get to the spoilery part, but it's just, I don't like the relationship between Harley and Joker. It's never really done well. Harley is there, but she's a very thin character, given very little to do. And I think the idea to make this a musical was done with the thought process that if we make this a musical, we can pad out the runtime a little bit. With a musical, we can, we can sit here and we can make this last longer. We don't have to watch through as, if it's just a lot of nothing for a good amount of the movie, which is what this is, because it's the entire movie is the trial based on what happened in the first movie. And they're not going to do a straight legal drama, and the trial isn't exactly fleshed out enough to make it interesting. And again, this one has the same problem I had with the first one. It's a shame to be a comic book movie, which again, you only are where you are right now because of the DC branding, and yet you're kind of ashamed of it. They mentioned the movie takes place in Gotham City, but Gotham City is mentioned once. He's in Arkham Asylum for a good amount of the runtime, but he's only, they only name drop Arkham twice, and once is the sign, the Hotel Arkham sign. And it's like, look, I get it, that, you're trying to be a more grounded, more nuanced take, which really they're not, let's be real. But, realistically, I don't think there's a lot going for this movie. This might be, I wouldn't say this is better than Megalopolis. Because at least Megalopolis tries to grapple with some bigger concepts. This one really doesn't. And look, from here on, let's get into the spoilery territory for those who want to be spoiled before going to see it, or more accurately, probably not going to see it. But before we get to that, the rating I would give it is a 3. This is a wait for it to hit max movie. Like, this is a movie that, like, you don't need to watch it in a theater. It was shot for IMAX, yes, but you do not need to rush out to see this in the theater. I watched it in IMAX, and I'm like, this is a waste of money. Not just the ticket price, but however much they paid for IMAX cameras to shoot it in IMAX was a waste of money. I'm sorry, I don't know who the fuck thought that was a good idea. Like, and that's the thing, too, is that it's like, keep in mind, Dune Part 2, which came out earlier this year, cost $190 million. This movie cost $10 million more than that. And while I was waiting for the movie to come out, I kind of justified it. We're like, oh, it's a musical, and musicals have a lot of, human production design that go into it. There's a lot of costuming. There's a lot of, humans who need to be able to dance and move for large musical numbers. This movie doesn't have that. So I'm still kind of baffled about where this money went, especially considering a good amount of the sets where they are either one soundstage, which has 4 or 5 different set dressings on it, depending on if it's the nightclub show or the or the rooftop, or where Joker fantasizes about, and we're in spoiler territory now. Joker fantasizes about getting married to Harley, or anything like that. Like, that was kind of the first place I was like, okay, well, that maybe if they do more of this, but they don't really do that much. And there's no big, like, there are some people in scenes, but they don't really dance or sing or anything, and they aren't involved in the musical number. In fact, the first big musical number we get involving Arthur, it's clearly delineated that what's happening with the musical numbers are all in his head. And that's kind of the issue that I have with this movie, is this idea that, like, they don't do enough with any of the ideas to make them interesting. And let's talk about the elephant in the room, how they explain what happened in Joker. Because that's the thing that I think sticks in my craw the most, because it harms the first movie in a weird way, while also in this movie making things muddied in a way they don't need to. So, in the first movie, my thing was, you kind of can't tell when the split happens, because there is a moment in that movie where Arthur is no longer just Arthur. Arthur has fully become Joker. Oh, cool. The Skechers is open. I gotta let my mom know that. She really likes Skechers. I'm driving home and I passed by the new Skechers store. But she, and that's what makes it interesting. And then you get to the end of the movie and he's talking to the person in Arkham. And that's the thing, too. There was so much more diversity in sets in the first movie. Like, how the fuck did this cost more and have less sets? Like, I'm sorry. He's either in the courtroom or in the prison, like, or in Arkham. Like, why is that a thing? But the idea that, like, oh, they're explaining it as multiple personality disorder. Okay, cool, alright, that's how they're gonna explain it. But it all happened. And that's what it is. It's like, I don't think that's interesting, because it's just, okay, so everything happened. And there's, like, even the dubious thing of, like, well, what happened to Sophie, Zazie Beetz' character? Even that's answered, because she shows up and has, and has one scene, which feels more directed at the audience than anything else. Like, she comes in and they're like, well, why did you finally, like, it feels like it was added in reshoots. Which is weird, considering the moment is something that is key to the movie, because it is the full break of him putting on the Joker persona for the trial. But it's just this idea that she, she talked about him not having a girlfriend, and she talked about him, being weird and not being funny and all that. That's what makes him break. And it's just, her saying, like, well, I wasn't going to come back because of X, Y, and Z, and then the supporters kept nagging me and harassing me at my job, and harassing me here and harassing me here, so I guess, decided to comply with the subpoena. And it's like, okay, sure. But the other issue is, and the reason why I think this is important, is in the first movie, once the break happens, and that's where I was going. I feel very scatterbrained right now, but, like, once the break happens, which is, let's say the brake is on, on the train when he kills the three yuppies. Like, when that happens, things start happening weird. There's a surreal, dreamlike logic to the remainder of the movie from that moment on, to where you can believe this is all happening in his head, because this isn't how people act. This guy asks for the file, and she brings the file over, puts it in front of him, and goes, oh wait, I can't give it to you, so he can just steal it. Like, getting that private audience with, with Bruce Wayne, or not Bruce Wayne, Thomas Wayne. There are so many things that happen from that point on in the movie that you're like, okay, I can buy this as a delusion, because if it's a delusion, it explains all the plot holes. And then the same thing happens here, where it's like, there are weird things that happen that you're like, why the fuck is his attorney putting him on TV in an interview to try and explain himself? Why the fuck is that? And then why is the TV crew, like, not letting the attorney interfere to stop the interview? Like, I'm sorry, but, like, what? On what planet is that how this works? And then it's like, he comes in full clown makeup after he fires his attorney, which, like, yeah, I agree the attorney is probably incompetent, and the attorney's allowing that. But, like, you get into the, you get into the courtroom, and he's there in full makeup, and the judge is like, well, I considered all the case law, and I'll allow him to wear whatever he wants as the attorney. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, I don't think that's how a courtroom works. I feel like if an attorney showed up in clown makeup, let alone someone who's accused of dressing up like a clown and murdering someone, because for no other reason, for literally no other reason, the first witness that comes up is the little person guy who's in the first movie, whose name I'm forgetting. He's the first witness. He witnesses Arthur kill someone in that outfit. Like, he witnesses Arthur murder someone in that outfit. And they're just kind of like, well, what can you do? Like, it is a perfect example of witness intimidation. And they're just like, well, what are you going to do? We got to let it happen, because that's how it works. Like, and on top of the fact that, like, there's a vested public safety interest in this, where it's like, you have a mob of supporters outside who are all dressed like him, like, well, we're going to dress him this way, and we're just going to let that, like, there are so many things that happen across this movie that make me kind of like, why? Why was that a decision that was made? And why was that allowed? And, like, at least, and again, if this all happened in Arthur's head, and this is Arthur's interpretation of events, I buy all of it. But because the movie is very clear about all of this is happening in real life, this is the canon series of events, it does not make sense. And then let's talk about the ending, because I want to talk about the ending. And again, full spoilers for the ending. So, like, there's a moment where, he gets briefly rescued, he escapes, he goes back to, he gets brought back to jail, or back to Arkham after he's sentenced, and there he is. And then one of the prison guards comes over to him and goes, you got a visitor, so takes him into this empty hallway, and then this other guy comes up to him and goes, hey, Arthur, I have a joke. It's this young guy. Hey, Arthur, I have a joke for you, and he tells this whole prolonged thing. It's like, you get this washed-up clown at a bar, and this young guy, this young psychopath comes up to him and goes, hey, you're that guy from TV. And they go through the whole thing, and it ends with the young guy saying to him, as he stabs him to death, you get what you fucking deserve. And the guy is sitting there cackling in the chair as Arthur bleeds out on the floor. And I'm like, I swear to fucking God, was this a 2-movie origin for that fucking guy who's gonna be the real Joker in the DCU? Like, is this going to be the Joker that faces off against whatever Batman there is not the Batman, we already know it's Barry Keoghan, but is this going to be the Joker that faces off against whoever gets cast as Batman, be it Alan Ritchson, be it whoever? Is that what this whole thing was? Did this whole movie come into existence as we're going to pitch who the new Joker is. And it's this guy who killed Arthur Fleck and became the Joker, because he's doing the Joker laugh as he dies. And it's like that. I mean, look, I get it. Like, some explanation as to who that guy was. And maybe there's a post-credit. I didn't wait to see if there was a post-credit. I don't care. I never want to see this or the first one ever again. I'm totally fine if they never make another one of these. Maybe the post-credit explains, maybe it's meant to be Heath Ledger, and this whole thing was a prequel to The Dark Knight. Who knows? Because that could be the case as well. I mean, but like the whole thing was like, even like the logic around Harley in Arkham. Oh, she checked herself into Arkham. Okay, so she checked herself into Arkham. Like, oh, so she's there and he walks past through the low minimum security. Why do you have a maximum security and a minimum security, and then you have to walk them through the minimum security area from maximum security to get anywhere? That feels stupid. That feels really stupid on a design level. Yeah, there's just a lot in this movie that I don't really particularly like. Like I said, this is a 3 on our scale, which we're going to be getting a new scale probably in the new year. Probably just going to go to a straight rank it out of 5 system. So, you know, we'll see how that goes. But like, this is a 3. Don't rush out to see this in the theater. When it hits Max, that's probably the best time to watch this. You are not missing anything by not seeing this in IMAX. And yeah, I can't believe I sat through this and I was looking at my watch, like, not looking at my watch, but metaphorically looking at my watch. It's like, why is this movie going on so long? Like, I don't need this to go on as long as it does. And one other thought before I go, unrelated to Joker. I think I've made my thoughts on Joker very clear. This is not a good movie. Do not waste your time seeing it. It's not worth the effort. I would argue it probably could be a 2.5, because like I don't think it's even something that like you have to wait for it to hit streaming and then immediately watch it. I would say you could probably get away with, like, if you have Max already and you are morbidly curious and have nothing else to watch. But it feels like Warner Brothers is kind of leaving War of the Rohirrim out to dry in a weird way, because I've seen that trailer now twice in a theater. I've seen the Minecraft trailer 5 times in a theater. And if I never have to hear Jack Black say, "I am Steve," ever again, I will be more than happy. I do not need to ever hear that again. I'm fine with it. That movie is not looking good at all. That said, War of the Rohirrim looks really good, and they don't really advertise it. But we'll wrap up there for today. Our next episode will be Thursday, as usual, as we continue our quest through Agatha. And then next week we will be doing. I do have a ticket for Saturday. Definitely going to be having Saturday. We're going to be talking. We're going to be talking about Homegrown at Hampton International Film Festival. But we'll see about what else we're doing, and I will let everyone know. Because I bought a ticket for that today. But we'll see about the rest. And until our next episode, have a great rest of your week.